Welcome back to day 12 of the Abundantly Rewired series. Today's conversation is deeply personal because I didn't realize how many scarcity habits had quietly become normal in my life. Some of these habits didn't even look like scarcity on the surface. They look like being responsible, cautious, productive, or prepared. But underneath them was fear of not having enough, fear of losing stability, fear that something bad was always around the corner. Scarcity doesn't only affect your bank account, it affects your nervous system, your thoughts, your sleep, your relationships, and even your ability to receive joy. Today, I want to gently explore some of the habits I had to become aware of in order to start rewiring my mind toward peace, trust, and abundance. One of the biggest things I learned is that scarcity isn't always about the amount of money you have. Scarcity is often a constant feeling of not being safe. It's the voice that says, "What if I run out? What if this doesn't last? What if something goes wrong?" And when those thoughts repeat long enough, they become habits. I didn't realize how much of my life was being shaped by fear instead of trust. I thought I was simply being careful, but my body was constantly bracing for struggle. That awareness became the beginning of healing. I used to replay purchases in my head constantly. Even small purchases could trigger guilt or anxiety. I would question whether I deserved something, whether I should have waited, or whether I had made a mistake. And while being mindful with money is healthy, living in constant fear around every dollar is exhausting. I realized I wasn't just budgeting, I was emotionally carrying every expense like it was dangerous. Abundance begins when we learn to make wise decisions without living in constant fear. This one surprised me the most. I realized I had connected my worth to productivity. If I rested, I felt guilty. If I slowed down, I felt anxious. Scarcity teaches us that survival must always come before peace. But constantly living in survival mode keeps the nervous system exhausted. Rest is not laziness. Peace is not irresponsibility. Healing requires moments of stillness. The more I allowed myself to rest without guilt, the more grounded and clear I began to feel. Have you ever noticed that sometimes when life feels calm, your mind immediately searches for the next problem? I lived like that for years. Even during good moments, part of me expected something bad to happen. I struggled to fully relax because I had become emotionally conditioned to anticipate stress. That's what long term scarcity can do. But healing begins when we gently teach ourselves that peace is safe too. Not every calm moment is temporary. Not every blessing comes with a hidden cost. Sometimes life is simply allowing you to breathe. The biggest shift wasn't pretending everything was perfect. The shift was becoming aware of my patterns without shaming myself for them. I started noticing my thoughts with compassion instead of criticism. I practiced gratitude in very small moments: a peaceful morning, a warm meal, a quiet walk, a deep breath. Little by little, I stopped teaching my body that life was only about survival. And over time, trust slowly began replacing fear. Awareness creates transformation. So today, I invite you to reflect gently and honestly. What habits have become so normal that you no longer notice them? Where are you still operating from fear instead of trust? And what would it feel like to begin teaching yourself that safety, peace, and abundance are possible? You do not need to shame yourself for survival patterns. You only need to become aware enough to begin choosing differently. Take a slow, deep breath in and gently release it. Again, breathe in peace, breathe out pressure. So many scarcity habits begin because we've spent too long trying to survive. And if that's been your experience, I want you to know there is nothing wrong with you. Your mind and body were simply trying to protect you. But today, you are becoming aware, and awareness creates change. As you repeat this affirmation, allow yourself to soften a little. You do not have to carry the weight of fear every moment of every day. Repeat these words slowly with me. I release survival patterns and welcome peace, trust, and abundance into my life. Again, I release survival patterns and welcome peace, trust, and abundance into my life. Let those words settle in your heart. You are allowed to feel safe. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to believe that better days are possible. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this video resonated with you, know that you are not alone. So many of us were taught survival before we were ever taught peace. But healing is possible. Rewiring is possible. Abundance begins internally long before it appears externally. Take a deep breath today. Be gentle with yourself. And remember, awareness is the first step toward transformation. I'll see you in day 13 to understand the hidden cost of being poor.